everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk Physical Media. I'm John, and this is Matt, and this is episode 5 of Let's Talk Physical Media. But before we dive into our conversation, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, film reviews, tech reviews, game reviews, and these Let's Talk Physical Media episodes, nothing helps out more than by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So this week there really wasn't any big announcements as far as physical media goes. It feels like everyone wanted to get their announcements out for November, just to get everything out before the Christmas time rush.
Yeah, get in that holiday season so they can all be gifts and stuff like that.
Because November's Criterion lineup is stacked. You know, you got Malcolm X, you got Wall-E now coming from Disney, and you got In the Mood for Love, and The Power of the Dog also coming to 4K from Criterion. So there's just so much in November. But they announced their December releases this week, and I'm going to read them off for you. So the first announcement is Cooley High. I haven't seen that before. Another, The Velvet Underground, which was one of the biggest documentaries of last year. It's about the band The Velvet Underground. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Nope.
I've listened to them. And then you got
Velvet Revolver.
Velvet Revolver is a good band. It's a spin-off of Guns N' Roses, right?
Isn't there like that's like a power band, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Duff McKagan's in it from Guns N' Roses, Slash is in it from Guns N' Roses, and the lead singer was, what's his name, from, Stone Temple Pilots. What was his name? Scott Weiland. Scott Weiland, yep. R.I.P., yeah.
And I feel...
Yeah.
that 90s jaw music.
Oh my god, you had him, freaking Eddie Vedder, my god. And then you had the Creeds come in and like freaking with Scott Strapp and try and just totally rip
Christian rock.
Christian rock. Scott Strapp, though, not much of a Christian.
Yeah, I mean, I like that music. You have to be in a mood for it, but it's easy listening.
What, Creed? I love Creed.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that whole genre.
Oh,
that
yeah.
jaw music, you know, how they really...
I mean, I really like a lot of that 90s alt rock.
Oh, yeah,
I'm a huge fan of it, so... Anyway, because I just went off on... We're not talking about physical media. And then you also get the Michael Haneke trilogy, which, again, I have not seen that either.
What is that?
It's a trilogy from Mike Haneke. It's a bunch of his films. He's a director. Again, I'm not too familiar with him, so I can't really comment.
Well, if you're not, I'm definitely
not. And then you get 3 films by Mai Zetterling, which, again, same thing. So, like, those are films that I'm not too familiar with. I'll end up eventually buying them on a sale and familiarize myself with that. But as you can see, they got out all the moneymakers like Wall-E and Malcolm X in November.
Right.
The ones that are definitely, because the way, you know, a studio like Criterion, and same thing like with Arrow, because Arrow's putting out The Wolf of Wall Street, if you want them to do those small releases, that, you know, those real cult classics, they gotta release some big ones too.
Yeah.
The ones that are gonna make money. Like, Wall-E is gonna make a ton of money for Criterion.
Right. Yeah, I guess if you think of it that way, because Criterion is like one for me where they don't put out a ton of stuff that interests me.
No, I get that. And like we've talked before, like, the way Criterion curates their stuff is, like, it's not the most popular films. It's films that, like, really influence other films. You know, a lot of art house directors, a lot of foreign films that it really is something like, it's almost like a tool to teach you how to learn film.
Right.
And
I'm actually very, very surprised, especially with it being inducted to the Library of Congress. How come no one's touched Clerks yet?
I was thinking about that. Clerks
would be a great Criterion.
That actually, and you know what? That fits in perfectly with the Criterion Collection and what the Criterion Collection is.
Yeah,
That's totally, like you said, a movie that they made on a $27,000 budget. It's a huge influence on the 90s indie genres in general.
That would be one big wish of mine. Criterion would do a 4K of the original Clerks.
Can you imagine if they cleaned that up?
And I'm sure Kevin Smith wouldn't mind making some money and he'll talk for an hour and over.
Hey, you know? Maybe we can get something going on Twitter. Maybe we can tag Kevin Smith and tag Criterion and be like, hey, let's get an original 4K scan of Clerks.
Well, Arrow did Mallrats.
Yeah.
That's a Blu-ray, but still.
But the Clerks thing makes perfect sense for what Criterion does. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, they find an indie filmmaker, like, you know, a lot of people know Keanu Reeves, but do a lot of people know Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix did a film called My Private Idaho? That's a classic film, but a lot of people don't talk about that because that's more of something that fits the Criterion banner.
Right.
You know. So it's just like, that's what Criterion does, but Clerks would fit perfectly in there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I don't expect them to do Jay and Silent Bob.
No.
But Clerks, that's perfect for Criterion.
Yeah.
You know,
I like that.
They've done Spike Lee movies like that.
Now I want that.
Yeah.
Take my money. I want that.
I would love that. There was also a rumor that, again, from our buddy, the Disc Father, who showed that before Criterion did their announcement, the Joker was possibly coming to...
Right, but the Joker 4K is very good.
It's reference quality. As far as visuals go?
Yeah, so that doesn't need a boutique labels...
No.
You know, it...
Well, another thing that Criterion does at Arrow, all the boutique, the extras you have to take into account. I know you're not a big extras guy, but...
I kind of left extras within the DVD era just because with the size of the collection, and I don't have time to dig into 40 hours. Like, certain movies, like I watched the extras on Jaws, Terminator, you know, just very, very small selection of extras I dig into, but I'm not going to go dig into the extras on Wayne's World, or I'm just looking at some, or Beetlejuice. Well, maybe Beetlejuice, but like, you know what I'm saying? Just like random stuff. Like 21 Jump Street. I'm not jumping into those extras.
But the thing with Arrow is, and Criterion and all the other boutique labels, when they make these special editions, they're really trying to orchestrate it for the fan of that film. Like RoboCop, like the reason why there's so many extras on it, and they have the hard casings because so many people are fans of RoboCop.
Right, and I actually didn't watch a single extra.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I did, and when I get my Poltergeist 4K, because, you know, cheap plug, we have a review for it, I'm going to go through all the extras on there finally, even though there's not much.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I should check out the RoboCop ones because I do have the special hard box edition with that too, and I absolutely love RoboCop, and I probably would like all the extras. I would probably like 90% of the extras on these discs. It's just time. Do I want to watch extras of a movie I just watched, or do I want to jump into the next one or go play a game, or it's bedtime, you know, whatever.
You know, it's just like certain things like kind of enhance a film. Like I will listen to the Cinephiles podcast, and they'll break down an entire movie, and that'll make me want to go and watch that movie kind of like through their lens. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a whole different thing too. But as far as other new releases, there really wasn't much announcements for this. Like, at least, I don't know if there's anything that you're seeing. Like, I saw that Holiday Inn had a price drop. I think it's now $19.99 on 4K, and I know you're a fan.
But I am actually looking at, on the top of Blu-ray.com, the deals right now. And the one that is sticking out to me is The Batman on 4K is $14.99 right now. That's the slipcover edition. It's not the
Steelbook that
it's
you
not
have?
the Steelbook that I have, but it is the slipcover edition, and that is a fantastic 4K.
Oh, that's one of the best of the year, because when we get to December, we will do a ranking of our favorite 4Ks of the year, and that's still floating up there for me.
Yeah, and for $14.99, that's
a steal.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, that is a steal.
And think about it, that's a 3-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you really get your money's worth for that if you want to sit through the entire thing.
I've watched it 3 times this year.
Really?
We went twice, and so did you. Because you got the
I did.
Yeah.
I actually didn't watch the full 4K.
You didn't watch it?
I actually watched the HBO stream because I couldn't wait for the 4K.
Oh, I didn't even watch the HBO stream.
Oh wait, what did I do?
Yeah.
Oh, I did get the 4K.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a review for it.
Because it came out... Right. But no, what happened was, because I was over on my computer desk, and I had the 4K playing on one screen, and the HBO stream on another, and I was comparing.
Ah, okay. And you were saying that the HBO stream was actually good, if I remember.
It wasn't bad.
Which is surprising.
Because HBO streams are usually terrible.
Yeah, they usually have the worst.
Right,
actually.
And I was pleasantly surprised with the quality of that stream.
I wouldn't have actually expected that. Another big sale that just happened was the Sony Pictures dropping down to $220, right?
Right.
Which is crazy because we just talked about last week it being kind of overpriced at $299. You know, like 10 discs. That's almost $30 of 4K. And
well, now that's a Sony collection, and Sony does the Columbia classics also, right?
Yep. And actually, when I watched The Woman King last night, did you know that Sony also owns TriStar? TriStar.
That's the horse?
That's the horse jumping out. You probably remember at the beginning of like all the Look
So
Who's
they
Talking
got a
Horse.
monopoly.
Yeah, because they got that. They got Columbia. And they just write underneath a Sony company.
Right.
It's like,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what I think the deal is with that is I think they put that high price point out as a feeler.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's just an announcement and a price. Is there even a date for that yet?
Yeah, it's October 11th, I believe.
Oh, it's that soon.
It's coming out, I believe, because if I'm correct, I could have these mixed up. Either October 11th or 25th, but Columbia Classics is either the other one, and then the Sony Pictures Classics is the 11th and 25th.
So I think they announced the date like a month or so in advance, just so they could kind of see the backlash and what people are going to say, and it gives them time to adjust the price.
Yeah.
So that's probably...
I still think that we get a final price, like, right before release of $199.99.
What's it at, $240?
$219.
$219.
Yeah, and another thing, if you pre-order from Amazon, is Amazon does the price match. So if you pre-order from them today at $219, say it does drop to $199, they will actually match your price. And eventually, and then after it's released, they will refund you the money that you were originally charged at. So that's pretty cool. That actually happened to me with Platoon because I pre-ordered that, and then it dropped $1 from the time I pre-ordered, and they gave me $1 back.
Interesting.
So
did you mention, this is one I'm particularly excited about. November 8th, we're getting Earth Girls Are Easy from Vestron.
Oh, and you love Vestron. This is becoming one of your favorite boutiques lately.
I wouldn't say favorite. I just like their slipcovers and the designs and the number on the spine. Just
what'd you get this week? You got a big
gotta collect them all. Yeah, I got Wishmaster.
You got all 4, right?
Well, that's a 4-film set.
Mm.
Yep. And I believe that number was like 18. I looked up a list. There's like...
Was Chopping Mall 1?
Chopping Mall is number 1. So that Vestron Chopping Mall is from 2016.
Oh, wow. So they haven't really put out a ton then, huh?
Yeah, I guess it's looking like they're doing like one a month, maybe.
I do enjoy Vestron's like box designs with the silver lining.
I looked up their entire list, and there's only a handful because I was like, ooh, what else do they have? I was going to go for a whole set, but I was like, I didn't really like their list.
I am excited for Earth Girls Are Easy, though.
That one I will be pre-ordering, because I never saw that, and that's a Jim Carrey movie, and I've heard great things.
Jim Carrey and Damon Wayans, and that's actually kind of the role that got Jim Carrey the role on In Living Color, because that's where he met Damon Wayans.
Okay.
So
yeah, that looks really good. I'm excited for that one. It is only a Blu-ray, but it is from Vestron, and I like Vestron's work. Particularly, my favorite Vestron release so far is Chopping Mall.
Yeah.
And that was their first one.
Actually, this brings up a question. Speaking, because we're going to do kind of sprinkle in the Q&As, but Matt asked a question in there himself because he just wanted to talk about it.
Yes.
But Matt asked, what is your favorite boutique label? And I think I've said it, but my favorite is Criterion. Definitely Criterion.
And why?
And it's just because I feel like the quality of films... I was talking to my wife about this yesterday. I have seen a lot of movies in my lifetime. And... the problem is like, then once you see so many movies, you start to see all the cliches in movies. Everything, like, all movies start to, like some movies just start to feel bland. And you hear people talking about, like, a generic studio release, and it just kind of feels very recycled. And Criterion releases films that, like, really make you think a lot of the time. Like, when I saw Mishima this year from them, you know, that's a Paul Schrader movie. And, like, these are certain movies that, like, I never would have gone out of my way to see 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm just trying to explore as much film as I possibly can, Criterion gives you access to these movies that would have been really hard to get. Because foreign films, you got to remember, like, back in the 90s, we're a little bit younger than that generation, but it was hard to get VHS films from the foreign market. Mm-hmm. And Criterion puts these out, and they don't just put them out, they put them out in really high quality with a ton of extras. Like, they don't half-ass it.
Right.
Most of the boutique studios don't. Like,
no, but none of them do.
No, they put effort into it. Like, what's your favorite?
See, I struggled with this one because 2 come to mind, and it's really a toss-up. And I lean towards one, however, the other one has put out some of my favorite movies. So, it's really a toss-up between Arrow Video and Scream Factory, or Shout Factory for me. Now, if you look at my shelf... I have by far the most Scream Factory. However, Arrow has some of my favorite pieces, and I think specifically the RoboCop is one of my favorite pieces I have, and that's Arrow Video. I love that hard cardboard that they do. I love the art books that come in there. I love just the packaging, and Arrow Video does fantastic work. And with the exception of I think 12 Monkeys was the only thing I've had to
Yeah, they did get replaced, but they did a nice replacement. They did a nice replacement program with that because, Matt, you did the 12 Monkeys thing. I can't find the issue at mine, so maybe I got lucky because I went back and looked because Matt gave me it because they actually sent you 2 4K discs.
Yeah.
They didn't just send you... They sent you the 4K for Region A.
Well, I think that was a mistake.
Okay, so maybe it was a mistake, but Matt got Region A and Region B 4Ks.
Yeah.
And
weeks apart. Too.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, because I got one in the mail, I was like, what the fuck? And actually, have you noticed... Well, I don't know if you would notice this, but when I got that, it was from MVD. Now,
I did notice that.
I think MVD, and I gotta look it up. Actually, I'm gonna look it up now once you start talking. But I think MVD and Arrow are connected somehow.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Maybe it's like how, maybe it's kind of like how Studio Canal does a lot of the 4K scans, and then they release it in Europe, but then Screen Factory releases the Studio Canal's 4K scans.
I didn't want to finish talking about my favorite boutique. So I love Arrow. I really do. I love those handful of releases that I have from them, like The Hills Have Eyes 2. I just got recently the big box set of that. Donnie Darko, RoboCop. I'm just skimming my shelf right now. I would love for Arrow Video to do Terminator.
That's the big one we want.
That's a big one. But then I look at my horror section, and every other movie I have in my horror section is Scream Factory.
Scream Factory, it's really... I agree with you. Besides Criterion, Arrow and Scream come in at number 2 and 3. And what Scream Factory does is, since we're such big horror fans, is they really concentrate on the horror.
Well, yeah, they have a whole subdivision. Well, Shout Factory, I guess, is the mother company.
Well, they have Shout Select.
Shout Select would be, stuff like Twins and...
Red Dawn that you just got, and
Platoon. What do I have? I have Bill and Ted.
That's a Shout Select. And they're doing the 4K transfer, too, for Bill and Ted.
Right. So now, secondary company, Scream Factory, which is arguably my favorite from Shout, is fantastic. That Friday the 13th box set, that's amazing. That's one of my favorite pieces of my collection also.
And I don't want to spoil our Wes Craven video, but just some of the transfers they do. It's just unbelievable how clean these Blu-rays look. They don't half-ass it.
They do a great job. And... a lot of people could say shout slipping. But what I see is Shout has the most out there.
They do.
They put out the absolute most. So the volume of stuff they're putting out, the amount they're putting out, yeah, there's a higher number of stuff, so there's more room for error because there's more stuff.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, we found that one error with their, with Red Dawn and the Child's Play where it just seemed like a printing error. And, when a company does things like this, it's just simple. It's like they send out directions to a printing company. Like, your dad works for a printing company.
Right.
So, what that happens is you do it, you print it, and if, somebody just misreads the directions, a simple error like that could just happen.
Right. So, I just see Shout Factory and Scream Factory, they're putting out multiple releases a week, where studios like Arrow, they'll do one a week, maybe.
Yeah, and then they just saw, I was telling you this yesterday on Facebook, they're announcing these, limited runs of Blu-rays for, films that I personally never heard of, very low-budget horror movies. I don't remember if this was the movie you were telling me to buy. Was it Body Bags that had a very limited run from Scream that you had to grab, or was it something else that you...
No, okay, so it was in the same order. I got Body Bags from Scream Factory. That was a John Carpenter, Tobe Hooper collaboration. But the one you're thinking of, it was a sci-fi movie. It was a limited edition to 1,500 copies called Space Truckers.
Gotcha. Okay.
I have no idea. I haven't watched it yet because we're in Halloween season, so I haven't switched gears to anything else. I've been full steam ahead.
That is not a horror movie to you, possibly? Sounds...
Space Truckers? No, it's a sci-fi action movie.
First of all, the name's already throwing me off. How do you get in trucks in space? But anyway...
What do you mean? Use your imagination.
It's
like Fifth Element, basically.
Oh, okay. That's a fair point. It's a fair point.
It's gonna be like Fifth Element, but semi-trucks instead of taxi cabs.
All right, I'll give you that. It's a little... But anyway, like you said, it's a limited run, 1,500 copies. You might want to grab it. And they do this...
They just released something this week, too, you announced, right? You showed me.
It's just it's like a special run. They'll put it up on Facebook. It's like, okay, come and grab this now.
It was a surprise release.
Yeah. They did 2 this week. I don't remember what they were, but if you want those, you have to jump on those deals now. And me and Matt get in this argument all the time. Because Matt gets mad at me, and what it is, and a lot of people know this, one of our buddies here on this channel, Dennis Cinema 4K, we were talking about this yesterday.
Hey, Dennis.
Huh?
I said, hey, Dennis.
Hey, Dennis. So we were talking about this yesterday about, like, you only have a limited time run if you want to be guaranteed a slipcover on a 4K. So if you sleep on it...
So there is truth behind that. On ScreamFactory.com, because I was looking for a complete list of their stuff, and they actually have like a forum on their website, like under each
film
release. So like you can comment on each. It's weird, like their website's strange. And somebody was saying, "Is this guaranteed a slipcover?" And then Scream Factory replies, "We only guarantee a slipcover within the first 3 months of release." So after 3 months, there's a chance you can get a slipcover from leftover stock, but they're not making and selling these with slipcovers anymore.
Yeah, and that creates, and that's not just Scream Factory, you know, like me and Dennis were talking about actual Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which has been out for a couple months, and I highly recommend the 4K. We have a review for it, but he wants to make sure he gets it before the slipcover stops coming on it, which I agree. Like, you know, it's a nice slipcover, and you do lose something when you kind of lose the slipcover. I
agree.
You know,
and I'm a sucker for a slipcover. I absolutely love slipcovers. But why don't they put the plastic wrap on the slipcover also?
That always bothers me. Scream Factory does it, but the rest of them don't. I don't know.
I don't get it.
And it creates damage because they don't do that, actually.
Yeah, most of the time they're in good shape, but if you're coming back to it years later, so they can get knocked around, dropped, ripped, torn. You know, they put stickers on them.
The sticker thing kills me. Best Buy is the king of that. Oh my god, I hate it when they slap a sticker on the slipcover. Yeah. Didn't you just get a slip? Oh, you haven't reviewed it yet, but didn't Crawl have a slipcover, a sticker? Oh no, you Poltergeist did.
Poltergeist, and it says something about, it's right here. So Poltergeist has a warning on it. This film contains sequences of flashing lights that may affect viewers who are susceptible to photosensitive epilepsy or photosensitivity or other photosensitivity. So basically, if you get seizures or
you have epilepsy,
don't watch this. Or well, you can watch it. Just
be warned.
It's just a warning.
There's a couple scenes in there. It's using a bunch of, like, you know, especially very early in the film, like when the way this TV flips on, it's going to be very flashing light.
And it's on the inside too.
You know, that's actually really good because our friend, you know, his girlfriend has epilepsy. My brother Ryan has epilepsy, so it's something that you have to be aware of, and it's nice that they pointed it out in there because, you know, most movies don't actually do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because of, you know, for people with epilepsy. So it's nice, but yeah, that sticker though, if you go to peel it off.
So you gotta be I got very good with it. If you guys are into your collection looking nice, like I am, Goo-Gone works fantastic. Take the artwork out. If it's an excessive sticker, take the artwork and the disc and all that out. So now it's just the plastic case and the wrapper, and soak it in Goo-Gone for a few minutes, and then it'll peel right off. Then put a little more Goo-Gone and get the rest of the residue off, and then you could just wash the case in the sink with Dawn soap, and you know, you can wet the whole thing because it's just plastic. And then just stand it up and let it dry for a few hours. Maybe dab it with a paper towel. And you have a brand new case with no more sticker.
Yeah, that's stuff that Matt's told me. That's stuff that Matt figures out. Because Matt is a complete and utter neat freak. Actually, to a point that it pisses me off. Because I just walked in the house with my shoes on. And you'd think that I just stabbed him in the throat with a knife.
Well, in my defense, he's got dog shit all over his shoes.
I disagree with that strongly.
You could disagree with it, but it's true.
Alright, yeah, this has been a claw in my life the entire time.
Now, this does not interest me, but we did not bring it up on the coming soon. November 8th, we're getting a complete box set of Frasier on Blu-ray.
Ah, yes. That doesn't interest me either.
No, not at all, but if you like Frasier...
But that brings up another point. You were talking about this earlier. Was it the Paranormal Activity is getting a set, or something else is getting a set that you wanted to actually bring up that you were on the fence about buying?
I was on the fence the other day about the Conjuring universe.
The Conjuring universe. I thought there was another one. I know all
Paranormal is getting a Scream Factory-like box set.
I like that because they're all pretty good films.
It's not from a boutique label, but it's on that
level.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's probably released. I believe that's either Paramount or Universal. I can't remember, but you know, after Saw had their run in the early 2000s to the mid 2000s of releasing a a film every Halloween. Then Paranormal Activity took that over. So same thing. So there's, I believe,
I remember that when Saw was coming out
every Halloween. Me and Dennis were just talking about that today, actually. Not Dennis Cinema 4K, different Dennis, the one on this channel. We were talking about how me and Matt were there from the beginning. We saw the first Saw in theaters. And
I saw the first handful of Saws in theaters.
I don't think I missed one.
Really?
No, I think the first time
the
only time I ever skipped a Saw in theaters was Jigsaw, and that's because that was that big gap, and then that was when I was really getting into critic reviews, and everyone was just shitting on it, and I was like, I think I'll skip it. And
you didn't watch it at all?
No, I've seen it once since, but I didn't see it in theaters.
I have that on 4K. I watched it once, and I remember it being okay.
Yeah. And then they came back, and me and you were big fans of Spiral.
Spiral was good, yes.
I like Spiral. I remember that was mixed, but I really like Spiral. I think they got the tone back of what a Saw movie is. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you want to bring up? All right, well, in the meantime, I want to ask you another question, because this is
let's do a question.
And this is because we didn't get much questions, but one question that came in at the very last hour. Shamrock also was one of our buddies here, and if I'm looking at this close, it's because I have really bad eyes. Hi, John and Matt. What was the first film you had on physical media? I had Jaws 2 on VHS, which my dad recorded off the TV for me as I wasn't home at the time. However, the first official media I had was Tim Burton Batman on VHS, which my brother bought for me for my birthday in the early 90s. Also, how did you guys meet? Cheers. David. So David, or as we like to call you, Shamrock Balls, which is, your YouTube name. The way it worked for me, I guess we'll just dive in first to how me and Matt met. Me and Matt are cousins. But we're not cousins by blood. No. Matt's stepmom is my mother's cousin, and when his dad started dating her in the mid-90s, Matt was, I think, 5 or 6, I was 4.
I swear I was older than that.
No, it was 1997, because I only lived in Ronkonkoma, Long Island, New York, in 1997. And then we moved in 98 to Farmingville. It was one of the times my mom's got evicted, which happened often. So, I remember specifically that I met you there and we played the first SmackDown game. Or maybe it wasn't SmackDown, because I don't think that came out till 98 or 90.
I remember playing Croc.
So maybe it was Croc, or it was maybe it was WWF Attitude, but it was it was late to mid-90s, the Attitude Era. I don't even think it might not even started yet. But I remember specifically playing a PlayStation game in your stepmom's apartment at the Ronkonkoma house. Because then eventually they moved to Farmingville, and that's where I met your dad, and he lived there.
Actually, I'm thinking of the Farmingville house.
The brown house where
playing Croc.
Yeah.
Because Christine's apartment was dirty.
Yeah.
Well, not dirty, dark.
Well, yeah, it was in the basement. And then me and Matt had a bond over.
Quick story. My stepmother had a puppy at the time.
And
Kayla.
Yep.
And I remember she got out. So me, you, and your little brother were running around the neighborhood. And I guess the people behind you didn't have a fence. I guess the backyards were like this, but there was no fence. Because I remember the dog running into that yard, and it was right around Halloween time, so it was October maybe. So it was cold out, there was leaves on the ground, and they had one of those
rubber pool covers.
Well, the stretch ones, so it's level with the ground. And I remember you just running across the pool cover, not falling into it, but you were able to walk across it because the dog got across no problem. And then you were on it, and then you were just wet from the knees down.
Yeah, and then my brother, I think, fell in it. And then we left him behind, and we kept going and chasing Kayla.
I just remember you running across. But I was like, that's a pool cover, idiots.
I thought it was a tennis ball court. I'm not going to lie. But
I didn't even live there.
Yeah, I know. Well, again, we were young. Let's be clear. So me and Matt had a bond over video games, mainly. That's where we first started. And then we found we had a bond over movies.
We couldn't have played PlayStation there.
In 1997?
You had Super Nintendo.
I had Super Nintendo. I think it was either your PlayStation or Christina's PlayStation.
Because I remember the first...
It wasn't my PlayStation. I didn't get a PlayStation until 1998.
Yeah, I don't think I got one until later either. Because I remember the first time...
I think it was Christina's.
The first... She definitely had one. But I remember our first sleepover... We played Donkey Kong Country 3 and watched Speed 2 Cruise Control.
Oh my god, yeah. Which is another
thing. With the leeches.
The leeches and Willem Dafoe. My god. Yeah, Jason Patrick. They were trying to make him a thing. Oh my god. I loved Speed 2 though, to be honest. I think I told that story on here because that actually leads us into the other part of when did we start collecting physical media. And that's kind of around that same time. Like, I would ask for VHSs and stuff for Christmas, and I would have a VHS collection, and my mom asked me what I wanted for Christmas that year. It's, again, late 97, early 1998. It's either 97 or 98. And I wanted Titanic on Blu-ray. I mean, not on Blu-ray, on VHS. And the reason is simple, because you know this. It used to come on 2 VHSs, and I used to love to watch the second... tape 2, after they hit the iceberg. I didn't care about the romantic shit back then. I was young. But...
Well, tape 2 had the crash, when you hit the iceberg, all the action.
Then basically, all the good stuff. And basically, my mom thought, oh, I'm not buying my 7 or 8 year old son, whatever I was, Titanic on VHS. So you know what I'll get him? I'll get him Speed 2. He'll love that.
Oh, you own that? I thought that was a rental.
No, I specifically remember opening that gift on Christmas. I'm like, oh, my mom, because I wanted Titanic, and my mom bought me Speed 2 cruise control. She's like, oh, he must like boats. No, I like movies.
I see the connection.
Yeah.
I see the connection.
So that was where I first started, and then it progressed into, really it took off when we got to the DVD era, when I got my PlayStation 2, and I got Driven, and a bunch of those kinds of movies. We talked about Dark Blue last week. But that's where I got started. But I think you were a little before me. Did you have a VHS collection?
So, did I personally have a VHS collection? No. Because I was so young. I mean, alright, so at my mom's house we had this big entertainment center. The TV sat in it. Then there was glass doors where she had, like, her Precious Moments and all the, like, those ceramic dolls and all that bullshit, and the Disney collection. And then the other side had the stereo receiver and all that stuff. And then on the ends, there was these things that flipped open, and they were storage things, and that's where all the VHSs were. So you would open up each side, and we had probably, at the time, the complete Disney collection in the white clamshells.
Yeah.
We had every Disney VHS. I had a ton of Winnie the Pooh VHS. I had, all that stuff. And then I had a couple of my favorites. I remember I had Batman Forever. I'm trying to think what else. Hocus Pocus. All the kids' movies at the time. And, I mean, I wouldn't consider... they were mine, I guess, but as far as collecting, I wasn't a collector. I just liked watching movies, and my mom bought all the movies for us. But I could tell you my first DVD that I owned, and that was Shrek. That was the first DVD I ever received was Shrek. And then shortly after that, I remember going to maybe Tower Records or something on Portion Road, actually. And I remember I got a DVD rack that held like 25 DVDs. I picked up that, and I think Dumb and Dumber was one of my first DVDs also, which I still have.
You still have that Dumb and Dumber DVD? Oh, that's crazy, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I have none of my DVDs, and I wish I did. I remember those DVD racks. You stand them up, and you just slide the discs in. And I had, I think, 1 or 2 of those filled up, and sadly, I just lost all my VHSs and DVDs.
I remember you had a decent collection at the time. Well, you had a lot of good wrestling ones, which I have a couple of them here now. And actually, the PS2 games, I had a whole shelf for that too.
Yeah, that was another thing that if you want to go into video game collecting, Matt's way ahead of me. I don't even have any, but Matt was always the more of the collector compared to me.
I've been collecting since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, Pokemon cards, that was a big thing for me. I always, since the Sega Genesis era, I always had a big stack of games, a big collection of games. But as a kid, I had to sell them to get newer stuff. But I would say, I guess around when I turned 18, so whatever the hell year that was, graduating high school, I finally got a job. And then once I was able to buy games, I pretty much kind of stopped selling from there. So it's just a lifetime of collecting since then, movies as well. And, the collection just always grows. It never really gets smaller. And I'll go through spurts. Like right now, I'm just going crazy with the movies. But there's times where I'm just collecting games like an animal. And games are just so expensive right now. And especially with the new stuff.
Yeah, this is a big thing. This will actually leads us right into our next topic we were going to talk about today.
Yeah, with the new stuff that, like, you buy an Xbox One or Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5 game, and there's only a couple megabytes on the disc, and then you have to download the rest of it, so it's like this disc doesn't really even matter. You know, especially with patches and unfinished games and all that bullshit. So I kind of fell off the... I haven't really even been playing video games often, or as much as I used to at least, and I just kind of lost interest in the collecting of the video games, and I've been having a great time collecting movies and discovering movies. So.
Yeah, and let's talk about... hopefully we answered your question, Sharon Pauls. We love you, man. We appreciate all the stuff you do for us.
And I see you on the middle... no, never mind.
No, you're different someone. You're thinking of different...
Skull Crusher.
You're thinking of Skull Crusher.
Skull Crusher. And, But I do see Dennis over at mid-level media. Ken is awesome. I love his videos.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we try and support everyone who supports physical media. But one thing that has to do with physical media a little bit that we wanted to address on here was the computer chip thing. I don't know too much about this, but this is where Matt kind of his expertise comes into play.
It's not exactly physical media, but again, back into the video game world. Or, I mean, this kind of touches us because editors and stuff like that. But PC components, if you're familiar with building gaming PCs or components or any of that, EVGA, they're a pretty big name in the gaming world, you know, or in the PC world, I should say. So I think the news broke yesterday or the day before. They are no longer doing business with NVIDIA. So that means no more EVGA graphics cards. So the 30 series, like the 3060, 3070, 3080, 3090, all those EVGA cards are going to be the last. They will not be a 40 series EVGA card. And I kind of like EVGA. They have really nice aesthetic to them. Now, what that means is, I guess they're going to be focusing on, because they make other components. I think specifically, like the one big thing you would know EVGA for is the power supplies in PCs. So I guess they're going to be focusing on that, and I've kind of took a step back from that. I haven't really been too much into it, but apparently these 40 series cards that NVIDIA's working on are going to require a lot more power, so I guess a lot of people are going to be upgrading power supplies, and EVGA maybe can fill that void and make a new sort of power supply that doesn't cost $1 million and powers these systems efficiently. So, I don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. A lot of people are saying, oh, they're going to make their own. I don't know. This is just... I saw it yesterday. I thought we would toss it in. But I really like EVGA. I don't have one now. I have an MSI graphics card right now. But my last card was an EVGA, and I actually like the way my last card physically looked. My new card is obviously more powerful and has more performance than my previous card. But I liked the aesthetics of it.
What makes you feel like you actually bought something with some value to it when it actually feels and looks nice? Even if it, doesn't need to.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, the way these graphics card companies work, so NVIDIA creates the chipset and all that. So they'll put out a Founders Edition of the card on release, and there's a handful released, and that's it. Those go for usually MSRP, and they have the baseline performance. So now a company like EVGA, MSI, Asus, all these companies will take the chipset from NVIDIA, and they'll just they'll tune it up a little bit. They'll spice it up a little bit. They'll add some LEDs to it. They'll maybe add another fan. They'll boost up the clock speed. It's maybe 10 to 15% better than the one you'll get from NVIDIA. Not even that high. That's high. It's just slightly better than the card NVIDIA will put out, and they just put their own spin on it. They'll throw their name on it, and that's really it. But now you won't see EVGA anymore. Yeah,
it's a shame. I mean, this is something I have no expertise in, but yeah, it's something we decided we wanted to throw in and address because it is a pretty big thing, and it's a pretty big deal. It's going to change the whole market.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had one more question that we have to address, and this is from one Mike Kish.
Oh, my dad.
Yes, and we don't understand it really. Totally unrelated, but do trees freeze in the winter? Now, I'm trying to figure out if that is a movie quote or what. Now, you have a theory.
I have a theory. When it's cold out, if it gets cold enough, anything can freeze. So do trees freeze? I mean, I've seen...
Frost?
Well, not even frost. I've seen them covered in ice. So if, you get a good rain and then it's super cold, then yes, the tree will freeze.
Well, fun fact, I had a tree in the snow. It wet the ground, and it ripped up by the roots, and it fell on my end and my neighbor's fence, and it crushed his, what do they call that? Shed. It crushed his shed.
Oh, that was in the winter?
That was February. Right around the time we started the channel. It was nice, though.
So, yeah, so I guess, yeah, if you really think about it, trees can freeze.
Trees can
They
freeze.
move, well, like, they sense when it's cold because they're like, oh shit, it's cold. They drop all their leaves, and they go into hibernation for the winter, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how true any of what you just said is, but I'll take your word
Well,
on it. I'm not enough of an expert on trees to really give any sort of, thought process on what exactly trees are doing, and I just know that they put out oxygen and we put out carbon dioxide or dioxide.
Back to something I was saying earlier about the Arrow Video MVD. So it looks like Arrow Video is their own thing. So MVD has the Rewind Collection. It slipped my mind. I forgot about this. So MVD has the Rewind Collection. I have Jack Frost 1 and 2. This is just the one I grabbed. So MVD is their own thing. But featured labels, they have Arrow Video, Blue Underground, the MVD Rewind Collection, Synapse Films, VCI Entertainment, Bear Family Records, Metropolis, and Collections name, whatever that is. So I just found it so strange that I got this Arrow Video replacement disc through MVD. So I still don't know.
Maybe they outsourced the work because, like we said, this is post, launch. And the way I understand about 4K discs and how they print is that there's, 2 big factories that actually print these discs in the United States. So, I mean, given that this was a Region A and Region B 4K, so I'm not too sure. It's a very strange thing that happened with that, but back to my point from the very beginning about the 12 Melkies thing, I can't find an issue with my 4K, and I compared it to the 4K, Region B 4K that you gave me. I'm having a hard time.
Pop that in?
Yeah, just to see.
There's a time.
Yeah, and I don't think I have an issue with my disc. I guess that's really it, because, I mean, like we said, it was an issue with some and not all, and I guess I have one of the ones that don't have it. I can't find it. I was looking for that specific point.
So, if you go to mvdshop.com and you go to their About Us, it says, welcome to MVD Entertainment Group Shop. Since 1986, we've delivered music, video, vinyl, and collectibles geared towards people who are as nerdy about music and film as we are. Other labels as
I think it's kind of like the Studio Canal thing. Like, they kind of just assist when they're, needed to help with distribution in other areas, and it seems like they helped our video out with this whole 12 Monkeys thing.
Yeah.
Printing the discs, fixing the scans, and, hey, that happens. That's going to do it for us here on this week's Let's Talk Physical Media. As always, guys, if you have any questions you want to ask us for next week's episode, please drop those in the comments section below, or I'll throw up a graphic sometime later in the week and you can comment on there. But anyway, guys, as always, if you like this video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and tell all your friends.